What's going on, creators? Yeah, just want to get on here and bring everybody back to now. Appreciate y'all being here and vibing with me for a bit. Yeah, today I'd like to talk a little bit about your mental diets, but also avoiding false binaries, which are very, very common in this kind of realm where, we kind of get separated into camps. And you're seeing a lot more of that with identity politics as people are embodying their states more and more. Obviously, where in the past when I was like, just in my life, it seemed like a lot more of that was, it's probably still there, but not as much in the open and not so politically charged. And, a big part of like the law of assumption is embodying the desired state that you wish to see in the world. So if you wish to see more peace, then you become peace. And as you embody that more and more so, without the resistance of thought saying, well, peace is impossible, people are naturally violent, murder is normal, it's just these things that, these stories, these narratives that we picked up along the way. The more that you can embody peace and become peace, the more that you experience peace. The more that you plant those seeds, the more you reap that harvest. The same thing with like abundance. The more that you wear abundance and prosperity, the easier you get into the flow of those things. But there's also people that are unaware of that and are kind of stuck in the illusion of separation, which biblically, it talks about the carnal mind being death, and it almost seems like awakening from the dream of being an automaton is a big part of like the human experience that maybe a lot of people haven't experienced en masse like they are now, where it's like, I almost feel like a sense of excitement, for the future, where maybe a lot of people, especially what I'm hearing, maybe in the truth community, seem to don't have that kind of hope, and almost like this dread of like tomorrow, where it's like, oh, it's getting worse, it's getting worse, it's getting worse, and oh, the mandates and this, and what am I going to do type thing. And kind of from my perspective, I'm not really involved. I'm not in that world at all, unless I kind of dip into it. My day-to-day is so far removed from this shit that, if I don't watch it through a screen, I would forget that it's even going on. I might even start doing that, just kind of dropping it, because I don't want to continuously breathe life into it either with my attention, with my energy. And that has to do a lot with like mental diets, where it's like I would, instead of watching, no, what did Joe Biden say today that's triggering and alarming, versus, oh, what did Jesus say? It's like I'm going to start filling my diet with more soul food versus just energy draining situations. Especially when I don't need Joe Biden to take care of me or keep me safe from problems. It's like I am a sovereign being, and so are you. And the more that we take ownership of our life and stop blaming the they for the situations that are going on, when the reality is, it's on you. It's on me as well to be the change that you wish to see. If you aren't being that, and it takes courage to do that. And so it's like I understand why some people are, having a hard time because they're expecting this. Someone to save them from the problem. It's like, with this new, thing going on with different people's employers, trying to force, things onto them that they don't feel comfortable with. It's like, at what point do you have the courage to say no? That seems like a big part of this thing. Just, you have to say no. It's like, if you didn't say no when the 2 weeks to flatten the curve happened, you didn't say no when the mass started happening, you didn't say no when the 6 feet apart started. This has been a continuous snowball that you could have easily, it's like, I said no, but when that 2 weeks to flatten the curve, it's like, fuck off. It's like, I don't believe any of this shit is going on, because of the track record of lies and deception for 20 years. So it's like, if you hadn't seen the lies and plus, there had been with like, everything that I've kind of experienced down the rabbit holes, it's just like, nope. Not falling for it, not buying it one bit. You see the sensationalism of the lie, the lying, the nonstop lying, and it's like when you stay present, you realize like everything that's going on in the present moment. It's like, oh well, you were wrong about that. Oh, you were wrong about that. Oh, you lied about that. At what point do you go, you are not deserving of trust, so I don't even want to hear you run your mouth. It's like if everything that you say is suspect and untrustworthy and verifiably untrue, then it's like, then you're a jack off and I don't need to hear you. It's like I don't need to spend my days listening to liars and obeying them. That's the other part of it. It's like, why would you obey liars? It's like, when did all of a sudden you can trust Big Pharma? It's like, oh, because now in 2020, all of a sudden they just turned into angels. It's like, do you have any idea how business works, for predatory business people? It's like, it's no different than the predatory people in general that look to take from you, to eat from you, like to eat off of you. It's like that's the nature of predatory people. And it's like to drain your energy. It's like almost vampiric. And once you realize that, you're not a prey animal, you don't have to just sit there and just be farmed. That there's another choice where it's like, you could just believe God and trust the promises of God are true. And it's like, most people are in the situation they are because of their lack of faith, and their faith in whatever their faith is in. I don't know. It's not for me to even give a shit about what other people are doing. For me, the times that I face fear, is when, I wasn't trusting God. This is like, once you start breaking through that, though, I feel blessed. On paper, I've had the best year ever. And a lot of people that I follow that are obeying the laws of consciousness, and putting on that identity, things are going great. It's like you start to see how you can be, do, or have anything. It's all supernaturally and metaphysically starts connecting in ways that just beyond comprehension to even see and understand, but it just happens. It's weird and wild and awesome, and it's for everybody to experience. So it's like, when I hear these narratives from the world of just like, oh, these binaries, so like, as soon as you recognize the binary, masked versus the unmasked, vax versus the unvaxxed, white versus black, religious versus atheist, it's just like all of these people. It's like, Jesus said, to love our enemies, and so you should be praying. I try to pray for like Biden and like Kamala or whatever fucking name, the vice president, and actually mean it. It's like, it would be great if because so much of this, the problems are just reacting unconsciously. It's like both political sides, it's like the politics moves in one direction, and it's like, it's weird when you start to see how it kind of, a lot of it seems like it's just the result of unconscious reacting out of fear instead of being proactive on what do you actually desire. It's like, do you desire to just constantly be reacting, or do you desire to be at peace and start making the moves as it happens in the moment? If you're able to not be triggered and get your energy drained by just life situations. Oh, what did Biden say? Oh, I'm triggered by that. Oh, what did the media say? No, I'm triggered by that. And it's like, oh, what did that person across the street say? Oh, I'm triggered by that. It's like you're so easy to manipulate. But if you're able to look at it without all of a sudden having, oh, I just reacted. Oh, it just came up. I had no control. You do have control over it when you practice it. And the more that you're able to be still, and maybe you have the thoughts, but that doesn't mean that's who you are. It's like, I was listening to somebody, he gave some really good advice about like illness. Someone who in the past has like dealt with like chronic pain issues. It's easy to look at that, make an identity about that. It's like, oh, the pain just made me stronger. And it's like, by really connecting and making an identity out of it, you're strengthening it and preventing it from going away. Because you keep breathing life into it. It's like, you really need to start taking ownership of the things that you spend your attention on. And it's like, if you really knew how much you're breathing life into it, the thing that's triggering you, and you can just drop it and stop doing that, I mean, would you continuously breathe life into it then? It's like, most people wouldn't, and it's like, if you look at everything as being reflective of your state of being, and even biblically, it talks about these powers and principalities and stuff, it's all internal. It's not the outside world. It's not, through force, and it's through consciousness through really taking ownership and unpacking and letting go by renewing your mind, like the Bible says to do anyway, and following Jesus' example and really do that, because it's like you can read the shit all day long. I mean, there's people that read the shit for 20 years and just don't even apply it besides when it makes them look good, but inwardly, this is like once you start to apply it, then you start to see it's like, oh, it all relates back down to the only real choice you have. It's like, are you going to choose fear, which is a result of believing in separation, that you're a separate body, a brain and a body, when you're actually connected. We're all connected. You can say that maybe scientifically through the quantum field, or through consciousness, through love. We're all connected in this weird way, which almost until you experience it for yourself, where you may be thinking about somebody, next thing they call, you run into them at the store, or you start. No, a lot of times, people that are in the illusion of separation are just unconsciously creating fear, loops of fear, over and over and over and over again, and just suffering for no reason other than they're just unconsciously doing that. It's like throughout the pandemic and everything like that, you start to see how people, their minds, it is almost like the two separate worlds, and I almost see those worlds becoming more and more polarized as people just either are doubling down on fear, or are facing the fear and letting it go and expanding their consciousness. Does that mean the two can't coexist? I think everything's happening now anyway, and so it's like, I think everybody that hits your radar, every situation is all orchestrated and in God's control, and on some level part of this process of awakening. And at the same time, I think there's a lot of levels of like frequency, where you get to a certain level, you're not hitting the radar of maybe a low frequency person. It's just, I don't know, it just kind of seems that way now, from my experience of being around different people and seeing how God provides through my customers, for my business. It's like, it almost becomes like a reflection. You start to, like a reflection of your faith is the world that you live in. And if your faith is in nothing, or just, there was like a time where it's like, I was like really science minded. I believed a lot of the atheist bullshit. But I was, also more like maybe agnostic as a label. Back, because I went to church when I was young, didn't really stick, and then I just went and did a whole bunch of craziness and stuff like that. But like, I fell for the whole materialist paradigm at one point, until I stopped, until I followed more into quantum science, and then got into Tom Campbell's Big Toe theory, which is a unified field theory, which go try to disprove him, and like and then tested it for myself. Then got into like kind of the law of attraction based on like the concept of like we're in a simulation, holographic projection. And then the double slit experiment really shows to add a lot of weight before you even test it. I mean, once you start testing it for yourself, you see it with your own eyes, and it becomes even more obvious. It gets to a point where it's like, is water wet? And then someone can come up to you that's unconscious and be like, water is and it's just like, dude, water's wet, and it's like, no, water's dry. And it's just like, believe whatever you want to believe then. And it's like, I know through personal experience that it's different than that. I don't need to read it, but from some expert with Theoryland. It's like, I've already been testing it. It's like, and you can test it too. I mean, that's the crazy part of it. It's like, you can literally test it for yourself, which you're encouraged to test it for yourself. And it's also, biblically, test these things, because, someday you got to give an account for why you believe the things you believe. And it's if you're going to sit there and just be blaming other people, like, oh, well, this person told me that, and that person told me that, and it's like, well, why didn't you have an original thought of your own? It's just, I almost feel like the script is soon to be flipped, because it's such it's such a farce. It's so upside down and backwards that the people that are doubling down on it and doubling down on it and doubling down on it, I feel like are the ones that are about to get the brunt of it when the shit snaps back. And because you're constantly reaping what you sow in the present moment. So the shit you did yesterday doesn't fade away to oblivion. The thoughts that you had yesterday, the words you spoke yesterday, your emotions that you were charged with yesterday and amped up with, if you didn't either transmute those or process those in a letting them go, or just acknowledging that that's part of you in a healthy way, and then also the circumstances of your life, that's why I think stewarding is so important to get a grasp on that, because you're stewarding what you can do without resistance. I mean, it's a reflection of you. Everything is a reflection of your faith, your money, your job, your family, your everything. Everything is a shadow of that, and so you don't change the outer circumstances by just moving the shadow shit around. You got to make the change inwardly, be different, be the change you want to experience, and then it'll start to reflect that in God's timing, in the situations of your life and everything else. And it seems like the ones, and Jesus said the kingdom of God is within, and so as you really focus on seeking the kingdom, which you're instructed to do, a lot of these outside forces become more obvious. And at the same time, if you follow maybe the law of assumption, which follows kind of this different label, maybe more of a conglomerate, I guess, of biblical ideas that Neville Goddard was really kind of the one out there sharing now, where whatever you ask for, believe that you've received it and it's yours. Anything that you ask for, that's a promise of God. And if you believe that's true, which there are so many testimonies, I'm telling you, I mean, I live my life with that, it's just and it's working, well for me. I mean, it's I feel completely out of the beast system, it's I don't really have a lot of the bullshit, and the stuff that's coming down that a lot of people are just now dealing with. I feel like I've already dealt with that years ago when I got spit out of the world. And if people have the same experience I did, I mean, you buckle up, and really grow your faith, because it's just going to get real, for those people as their fears start to manifest more and more, and then they'll get in these loops where it's just getting worse and worse. It's but until you face it with God, that's just kind of the nature of creation, and not to sit there and judge creation. But actually start to see the perfection in it, really. I mean, so you don't got to do anything. People are just doing shit to themselves. It's the people that are trying to enslave and dominate others are just the ones that are going to be enslaved and dominated themselves, because we're all one, we're all connected. And so if you don't realize that we're all connected, and you're trying to get something, sneaky or underhandedly or whatever, yeah, I mean, it'd probably be in your best interest to not do that, because you don't want to, have that reaping and sowing. If you're reaping and sowing evil, evil or fear or divisiveness, and basically embodying satanic ideals. Don't be surprised when you start looking in the mirror and realizing that you're Satan. It's just and that's part of it. I feel is, people are embodying, you hear some people oh man, it feels people are demonically possessed. And it's well, for one, start praying for those people, and looking within yourself to see if you're guilty of the same thing, because a lot of times people are good mirrors for you. If it's hard to maybe acknowledge you're doing something like that, maybe you are, and use that as an opportunity to either kind of let go of some of the shit within you, but then also to extend forgiveness to the other person and see them in a state where there's more desirable, maybe where they're happy, or not, or free. If you see them as sheep or just part of the masses that are going over the cliff, following the wrong guide. The guide of fear and torment and suffering and hell, basically. People that are, under that spell, not to sit there and freak out it's a lost cause. With God, all things are possible. And, God created these people too. And so, and what God created is eternal. And so looking at everybody through a lens that in their timing, God will make a move. I've seen that in my own when I first probably 20, I don't know, 16 ish. And it has been going on since like 9/11 though. But like when it really went full throttle for me, it's like, dealing with it, everybody, is just, everybody thought I was crazy. And at the same time, we're going to put them in a mental institute. We're going to have like, what do they call it? An intervention of like, oh, if you don't go get some help, for these wild ideas, we're going to put you in this shit. It's like, oh, fuck you then. It's just like, but at the same time, I've seen so many of these people come around. As soon as I took my hands off the steering wheel, it's like, you know what, I'm not going to shake these people or try to make them see reality the way I see it or any of these types of things, and I've seen them come full circle, because you start getting into these, like, maybe, I don't even call them conspiracy. Conspiracy is it's like, do you not realize how common it is for people to get together and conspire to do things? It is so fucking common, but like, the whole label has been tainted with almost like a straw man, argument with it. But like, when you start to really move people towards just maybe just your faith by embodying like somebody who's like acting out their faith and trusting that God's the one that wakes them up, and just trusting that God's already done it. God's doing it. And God doesn't really need my help. Jesus already did the work. So now it's just a battle to stay at rest and not to sit in fear of like, oh, this person is doomed, or this person is this or that. Learn the lesson from Job to start praying for your friends, because as you're praying for your friends, you're also doing it to yourself, because we're connected. So start to really put that into more practice of praying for others that especially are seemingly unconscious or just completely just confused. And most of these people are just terrified and scared and just are just don't know what to do because they're just scared children. It's just like so many of them seem like they're at that level of consciousness of like a child. That they can't move past this fear. And so many people are facing their fear of death. And with that fear, the more that you battle with that, the more you strengthen it, and then the more that manifests in a fucked up way. And then next thing you know, it seems like it's everywhere and there's no hope, and then this and that. But it's like, have compassion on people, especially the people that are just obeying the script as much as they are. Because if they continue on that path, well, they'll eventually wake up, But like, that's not for speculating. Speculating something bad's going to happen. Hopefully, something amazing happens for these people, and there's a there's a amazing awakening that happens. Consciousness starts to rise, and because what you're seeing is also the inverse of that. So as consciousness is expanding, the unconsciousness is balanced with it. So you're seeing a polarization, but not to sit there and like look at it as two separate things, because creation is one thing. God is one. Jesus said that's like the most important command. Hear, O Israel, our Lord, our God is one Lord, not two. And so really put that into practice, put a lot of what Jesus said, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. If you want to obey, it's like, obey these things, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. When you realize we're all connected, it's a lot easier to do that, to understand what that really means. And so, put that into practice in your own life. And besides that, I think I'm going to balance. I gotta change the chicken or the duck water. The ducks really, they bring a lot of dirt and shit into the pool. We got like a little kid pool that's like, I don't know, yay tall and like a circle or whatever. They just go crazy over the water in general. It's so weird. I'll spend a decent amount of time just watching the animals just do animal things, and just like almost like narrate a little story to myself. It's of what I'm projecting onto them. I don't know if that is even what's going on with them. But like the turkey was getting pecked at. It still gets pecked at a little, more than I would think is okay. But I'll go out there and they start pecking at his ass or his chest beard. So I'll take shit and just throw it at the birds. So they quit. Or if they're being really aggressive, I'll get in there and kind of handle it. But at the same time, it's like, is the turkey getting picked on, or is he just getting what he deserves? Because most of the time he just walks around like with his feathers out, with his tail feather, and just strutting around just like a peacock on. Such a weird animal, but it's such a weird consciousness, too. And it's just like, but it's definitely different than the chickens. But at the same time, it's just like, is he trying to just be dominant in there? Is he trying to mate? What is he doing? What is the purpose? And it's like, is he drawing this attention then to himself? Like he's being offensive. Like the ducks, they've been getting, the ducks are a little bit like more aggressive than you would think they would be. Because I don't know if because of like, I don't know, Hollywood and like cartoons and shit, where it's just like you think ducks are like maybe passive creatures. They got like a little bit of boldness to them, where it's like that turkey would come up to them, and they don't take his shit. If he gets near them, like puffed out and kind of walking at him, the most I see the turkey being aggressive is when there's food. But he doesn't bring that same intensity to these other conflicts. It's weird, but and I think the ducks are both boy ducks, which me and my wife had a conversation about. She wanted to clip their wings. I said, why? Just let them, if they want to fly away, let them fly away. What are we doing with them anyway? It's just let them be birds, But the thing of it is, I don't think they're going to go anywhere. They got a pretty sweet fucking deal. I mean, they just sit around playing duck water and eat, and we're not going to eat them or do anything with them. It's kind of just got them for like 4-H fair, But the thing of it is though, the turkey gets next to him, and they'll instantly just snap at him, and the turkey will kind of back off a little bit. But these the two birds, they kind of have been kind of fighting with each other, but I don't know if it's like play fighting or like a dominance thing, or I don't know, but it's interesting watching their little world, and that extends, because I watch the cats and I get a dog, I kind of, but then I even watch people too, and it's, weird because like, out of like the animals, I almost think the cat has almost it figured out a little bit more than, but at the same time, dogs have a more characteristics like of wanting to connect. I don't know. Between the two, it's kind of hard to. But I thought the cat was fairly intelligent until I had a baby in a cat. And the baby was far superior than the cat's ability to do anything. So it's like, oh, well, that's light years different than the the cat. That makes the cat look really stupid. But I like to watch these different things play out. Still, doing, my guy, my handyman business, he's working right now. My wife, she's working, not a handyman for my business too. I'm gonna work on getting a tire fixed on my vehicles if I can find anybody in town that'll just spend 15 minutes and just put it on the damn machine. I was like trying to get that done the other day. It's like, oh, you can leave the car here all day. We'll try to squeeze it in. It's like all fucking day to just get it off the rim. Come on. It's like you can't just. So we'll see how that plays out. I've been kind of just rambling here for a while. It's been eating up a lot of the time. I thought I was going to be doing the tire, but we'll see how that all plays out. And I think that's it as far as updates go. Other than that, I appreciate you guys liking, sharing, subscribing. I appreciate your financial support too. I try to become more and more mindful of like expressing the gratitude for that. I know it maybe comes off like, oh, I gave you some support, you didn't even acknowledge it or say anything about it. I mean so I understand how that's kind of like trying to do better at that, and so I do appreciate you guys that do that. And other than that, have a good rest of your now until the next little update here, stream, whatever you want to call this shit. Until the next now, God bless.